This is Would Evie Drive It, a tiny little show on our channel where we let Evie judge the cars.
Would I drive a Mitsubishi Outlander?
Fino, but first, information explosion.
Let's start with emotion factor.
How do you feel about the style of the Mitsubishi Outlander?
Ooh, I think the exterior looks like a warthog. Am I alone in this? Those two big shiny pieces of chrome on the front?
That look like tusks?
Yes!
Yeah. There's a lot happening there. The parts that look like headlights are not actually the headlights. They're little running lights up top, and then the actual headlights are sort of in the middle position of the bumper, and then there's some lower like fog lights below that, and then there's all the chrome. Oh my gosh, so many reflective materials.
Hello Kitty sunglasses.
Yay!
There's a lot of flair happening in today's video.
And I thought the front was my least favorite part, and then I started to look at the side.
Really? What's the side doing to you?
Well, I just don't like on the C-pillar the way the shiny black plastic and the chrome come together.
One thing I'll say about the design, if you see how the C-pillar comes up, it looks like the tail surface of an airplane. That's what they were going for.
Uh-huh.
That may not have connected with you, but there was a purpose in the design. What do you guys think? Do you like the look of the Mitsubishi Outlander? Tell us in the comments. What about the interior?
So the interior is more refined, squared off, and the material quality feels pretty nice. It's a little refined for my taste.
Yeah, you want something trashier.
I want something cute and fun, and I don't think this is either of those things.
It does feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect stylistically between the exterior, which is audacious, and the interior, which is comparatively conservative.
Right? That's a really good observation. It's like you're paid to make these sort of observations.
It would also be funner if it was fast.
Oh, that is a great point. Sweetie,
That
why don't
might
you
be
do
the way I'm driving it. Let's see what I can do.
needless full throttle acceleration? Whee!
It does go pretty fast.
It does not feel fast to me. Every time I ask for speed, it doesn't respond in a timely enough manner for my taste.
One of the things happening is that you've got a continuously variable transmission, and it takes time for the CVT to change its ratios rather than going to the next gear. One thing that they've done to try and make it feel less like a CVT is to give it specific ratios. You have a green light.
Thank you.
But
I was riveted by this ratio talk.
people love when I talk about CVTs and ratios, but they've tried to make it feel like an automatic transmission, but it still feels like a CVT if you're full bore on the accelerator. But if you're cruising around town, you probably wouldn't even think about it.
Yes, if I add gentle acceleration, it feels quite responsive. It's when I try to go needlessly full throttle that it is lacking.
In some ways, its powertrain style might be perfect for you.
That's true. When you're not shouting needless full throttle acceleration at me, it's probably fine.
Any observations from the steering? And feel free to take a zippy right.
Zippy, eh? That wasn't zippy.
I mean, that's zippy for Sweetie.
That's true.
My baby's driving the car now.
That would explain why we're going so slow.
Yeah, the steering feels good. I do feel like I can feel the road, but not necessarily in a bad way.
Yeah, it doesn't seem harsh to me either.
As compared to the loud vehicles I always drive around in, my old CRV, the Jeep Gladiator, it feels quiet to me.
Yeah, it really speaks to the value of having an anchor point that sucks.
So how does it feel to you?
I think it does have a refined quality. They've done a good job in making this feel like a more premium vehicle, and that anchor point that I'm going from is the previous generation Mitsubishi Outlander. This one, it shares its platform with the Nissan Rogue. You're basically driving a Nissan Rogue.
I'm shocked.
I've shocked her, and maybe I shocked you too. Mitsubishi has been able to leverage all of the efforts that Nissan put into the new Rogue, and they're getting to use what I think is a pretty good platform, because I really like the Rogue, and when we drove it, we had pretty good feelings about it. So overall, what do you think? Are you feeling an emotion with the Mitsubishi Outlander?
It's functional, but not overtly appealing to me.
Which is interesting because when we drove the BMW M440i recently, you can watch that by clicking right up here, you thought, oh wow, you know, this vehicle, which is so darn controversial, I like that it's making a statement. Sweetie, you're driving another vehicle that's making a statement.
I love that it's making a statement, it's just not one that appeals to me.
Gotcha. Okay, well that's totally fine. All right, we got to the bottom of the emotion factor.
But is it family friendly?
As mentioned in the previous segment, the Mitsubishi Outlander is based on the Nissan Rogue, but there's one big difference. Do you know what it is, sweetie?
The tusks?
The tusks, there's two big differences. The other difference is the third row seat. The Nissan Rogue does not offer third row seating.
That should be really appealing, to have an extra third row that's small enough that you can use it when you need to, but you can fold those down and have extra cargo room when you don't need it. But because it's there and it's so small, it feels like a flaw.
I think the first part of your statement is an accurate one. There are people who have enough children and that maybe they go to the school pickup line and a couple extra kids need to get a ride home or something like that. And that bonus space, that is, look at the B-roll. I do not fit, but our daughter barely fits and she's only 6. But if you were in a pinch, you could move the second row forward a little bit, you could squeeze a couple kids in the third row, and that would work okay.
It's definitely safer than throwing some kids in your cargo area.
Yeah, exactly, like we used to do when we were children.
Yes.
Once you're forward one row though, second row space, what do you think?
Oh, ample, generous.
Yeah, it seems super generous. And you got that sliding function that slides a really long distance. You can angle the seats, seat back fore and aft. Yeah, I think there's a lot of room as long as you're out of that third row. Any issues getting kiddo in and out?
Not at all. The latch points are really exposed, so it's simple to install the car seat.
One more third row note. With the third row seats up, there are 11.7 cubic feet behind the third row of cargo space available. It's actually a pretty narrow slot, but there's that underfloor area.
There's a cargo cover there right now, but if you moved it out, it's actually a functional space, which is rare for an underfloor space.
And I like that you can put the cargo cover somewhere in the vehicle when you don't need it. And then if you flip the third row down, which I'm imagining a lot of Mitsubishi Outlander people will do, then you've got more than 33 cubic feet of space, which is a very usable amount. Oh, one more observation about getting kiddo in and out. The second row doors, they open very wide, almost 90 degrees.
Wow.
So imagine, if you will, go back to darker times when we had a screaming infant everywhere and having to install the rear-facing child seat.
Oh boy.
It's difficult sometimes when you've got like kind of a narrow door opening, but with this one, with the door being able to open so wide, that would make that a lot easier.
Oh yes, that would have been very useful.
One thing I really like is that 11 airbags come standard, including there's a center airbag. You can see the little floppy deal right here, and knee airbags for both people up front.
That's great.
So there's a lot of safety in here, but I'm gonna ding the Mitsubishi Outlander ever so slightly because the My Pilot suite of active driver assist, which adds things like lane keeping assist and full speed adaptive cruise control, that is an optional feature you have to move up to the SE Trim to get. This is the time in the video where I point out that you get lane keeping assist and full speed adaptive cruise control as standard on a Toyota Corolla. But overall, what do we think? Is the Mitsubishi Outlander family friendly?
Family friendly.
Yeah. We've achieved family friendliness.
But is it mountain friendly?
You may have noticed we're not in the mountains right now, but we do live in the mountains. We just happen to be filming not in the mountains. Let's talk about mountain friendliness. The Outlander, any thoughts?
I like that you can add all-wheel drive. That would inspire confidence when I'm driving in snowy conditions.
It's only $1,800.
The way it handles seems like it would be well suited for our constantly curvy roads.
Seriously, there's like very few places where you're just driving straight where we live.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen.
As we come to a stop, I'll direct your attention to the digital gauge cluster where you'll see me put in, let's see, we got tarmac. That's just another word for the road. Gravel, snow, and mud. So you have several dedicated modes for a variety of mountainous style terrains. And again, I like the visualization. It's kind of
absolutely cool. That looks awesome.
And then I'll also point out that there are 8.3 inches of ground clearance, so you could probably get over things if you did a little light off-roading. This is not the gnarly off-roader that we would want, but You know, for mountain living, what do you think? Is this thing mountain friendly?
Absolutely mountain friendly.
Mountain friendly. And now, my favorite segment.
Sweetie potpourri.
Digging into the potpourri, let's talk about infotainment. There's a standard 8-inch screen and then an optional 9-inch screen.
It's a touch screen, it has knobs and physical buttons. I loved using it. I hate looking at it though. It looks like it's from another time.
It's like the former Soviet Union decided to create an infotainment system. Everything's just sort of drab and gray.
Especially when you contrast it with this great digital gauge cluster and all the graphics here. It's an odd contrast.
Yeah, the 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster is sparkling with life. And
Yes.
then this one is just gray, black, and well, we'll give them a little bit of color. Here is a blue.
But it's super user-friendly, and I like the camera.
Yeah, the 360-degree camera system, by the way, comes with the SE Trim, and I think it's a fine camera. You can activate it with the button. One thing I did notice, though, is when you put it into reverse, it'll turn on the camera automatically, and then when you put it back in drive, it turns it off. So if you're doing parallel parking, where you'd want to keep that on, you're in the middle of a parallel parking maneuver, cars are barreling down, you're backing up, you go to drive forward, and then that turns off, and then you have to go push the camera button again.
Have you tried pushing the dedicated camera button before you begin parallel parking?
I have not. Do you think you'd remember to push the camera button?
Oh, before I begin?
Uh-huh.
No.
Any seat comfort thoughts?
The seat, it's comfortable.
Good segment.
Okay, this seat is great, but that third row, why are the headrests so tall? They look like something from Star Wars.
You know what they look like is mitts that would use for like doing mixed martial arts.
Yes, they do.
Left, right, hook, jab, hook.
They're a visual blockade back there. I can't see out the rear window.
You'd probably want to pull those out for most purposes. I think the reason why they're tall is so they can create a shorter seat back, so it fits more easily when it's folded. And so they're trying to get a headrest up into the headrest space, and so consequently you have that really weird, sparring mix style headrest. Can I make a trim suggestion?
Yes.
The SE trim is the one to get. Don't get the base trim. And the reason why is that for about $3,000, you get a power driver's seat, heated front seats, a USB port in the second row, you get that 360-degree camera system, you get the suite of active driver assist, which I think should be included standard. You get smart key access, you get the rear hatch, which is foot activated, and you get the 9-inch screen versus the base 8-inch screen. There's so much stuff that comes with the SE trim. It's all really good equipment. I think that is definitely the one to get. So this particular SE trim has the SE Tech Pkg, which has that digital gauge cluster, this panoramic roof, the Bose audio system. The straight up SE trim gives you all the stuff you need.
That's all great. But is there a hybrid?
I'm glad you asked. Actually, there is a hybrid. It's a plug-in hybrid, but it's based on the previous generation Mitsubishi Outlander. I would skip that.
Oh.
Wait until they introduce a PHEV version of this one. The previous generation of the Outlander, Oh, and one more powertrain note. There's a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty for Mitsubishi vehicles, so that is a bit of reassurance if you're not quite sure you want to drive a Mitsubishi.
That's great.
Rounding things out, do you have any idea who this competes against?
Does it compete with the Kia Sorento?
It does compete against the Kia Sorento. In fact, we did a video with the Kia Sorento. That would probably be a good choice if you want more third row space, like somewhere people would go.
How about the Volkswagen Tiguan?
Another one, yeah, because it's basically a compact SUV that happens to offer third row seating. And I guess if you don't need third rows, then this competes with a raft of compact SUVs, including the Nissan Rogue on which it's based. All right, I think we pretty well covered it.
And sounded like a horse in the process.
Nay.
Nay!
But the burning question, would Evie drive it? Sweetie, yes, no, maybe so. Would you drive a Mitsubishi Outlander?
No, even though it is super practical, it's well priced, I like the fuel economy, I'm just not into the style, which is a very shallow reason to turn down a car.
You don't need the third row, so just get rid of the third row.
Okay.
And then what if I could get you this car but with a completely different front end on it?
Am I saying yes to the Nissan Rogue?
You might be saying yes to the Nissan Rogue.
Okay, deal.
What do you think? Is Evie crazy for saying no to the Mitsubishi Outlander? If so, Tell us in the comments. If you're curious what I'm driving or flying between YouTube videos, give me a follow over on Instagram. And if you're curious what our family is up to, give Evie a follow. If you like this video, maybe hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of these videos, hit the subscribe button. Well, I think we've done it. All that remains is the awkward goodbye.